Great Britain has seen its share of unexplained disappearances. These cases left families and investigators with more questions than answers. In this video, we'll look at 5 of the most mysterious disappearances that baffled Great Britain. Real stories of people who vanished without a trace. On November 12, 1976, 36-year-old Renee McRae and her 3-year-old son Andrew disappeared from Inverness, Scotland. This case turned into one of the country's longest-running investigations, uncovering dark secrets and leading to a conviction nearly 50 years later. Renee was a devoted mother who had a hidden relationship with William McDowell, a man who worked for her estranged husband, Gordon McRae. This tragic story unravels the events that took place that night and the eventual trial that brought some answers to her family. Renee lived in a well-off neighborhood, financially supported by Gordon, even though they had separated in 1973. They had 2 sons, Gordon Jr., who was 9 at the time, and Andrew, who was born out of Renee's secret affair with William McDowell in 1973. She had revealed this relationship only to her closest friend, Valerie Steventon. Renee believed that McDowell would leave his family, and the 2 of them, along with Andrew, would start a new life together. On the evening of November 12th, she packed her things and told Gordon she was visiting her sister. Instead, she headed to meet McDowell, driving south on the A9 highway. That night was stormy, and by 7:30 p.m., a farmer's wife, Eva McQueen, heard a terrifying scream from near a lay-by on the A9. This scream was likely Renee's last. Not long after, her car was found burnt out at the same lay-by. Inside, investigators found blood matching Renee's blood type, but there was no sign of Renee or Andrew. Several witnesses later described seeing a man with a wild look, pushing something in a stroller near the area. Another witness noticed both a BMW, like Renee's, and a Volvo, which McDowell owned, parked nearby. Police launched a massive investigation. Hundreds of officers, soldiers, and volunteers combed the area, but no trace of Renee or Andrew was found. Despite many interviews and searches over the years, the case went cold, with no new evidence coming to light, even after renewed efforts in 2004 and 2019. It was Renee's friend Valerie who first pointed the police toward McDowell, but he always denied involvement, insisting he was innocent. McDowell later moved to Penrith, Cumbria, but he never fully escaped suspicion. In fact, he even accused Gordon McRae of being responsible for the disappearances, though Gordon denied it. The case remained unsolved until 2018, when Police Scotland reopened the investigation. In September 2019, McDowell was finally arrested and charged. His trial included testimony from witnesses, some of whom had passed away by then, and others who were too weak to attend. Valerie Steventon told the court how McDowell had asked Renee to bring Andrew that night, under the pretense that he wanted to bond with his son. The prosecution argued that McDowell's true motive was to keep his affair hidden, protecting his job, family, and reputation. McDowell didn't testify during the trial, but his wife, Rosemary, spoke on his behalf, explaining his health issues. She said he had a do not resuscitate order in place. But despite her testimony, inconsistencies in the alibi and evidence presented by witnesses led to his conviction. On September 29, 2022, McDowell was found guilty of the murders of Renee and Andrew. He was sentenced to a minimum of 30 years, ensuring that he would spend the rest of his life in prison. The court determined that the killings were planned and deliberate. Renee's sister, Morag Govins, expressed relief at the conviction, though the family's grief remained. Renee had been a loving mother who cherished her children, and Andrew, who would have been 48 at the time of the sentencing, never got the chance to grow up. The family's sorrow was deepened by the fact that they never knew where Renee and Andrew were buried, preventing them from fully mourning. Despite the conviction, McDowell never revealed the location of the bodies. He passed away in prison on February 15, 2023, taking that secret with him. While the conviction brought some closure to Renee's family, the mystery of where Renee and Andrew's remains lie continues to haunt them. It was a cold, rainy night in November 1995 in the quiet town of Dorking, Surrey. 16-year-old Ruth Wilson had gone missing. The last person to see her was a taxi driver who dropped her off near Box Hill, a wooded area on the edge of town. He watched her stand there in the darkness, not heading anywhere in particular. That would be the last time anyone saw Ruth. Ruth didn't contact anyone after that night. There were no phone calls, no letters, and no withdrawals from her bank account. Her face, shown in the missing posters across the area, displayed a shy young girl with dark hair and large glasses. Former police officer Liam McCauley, who took an interest in Ruth's case years after his retirement, found her disappearance deeply puzzling. He teamed up with journalist Martin Bright to look into it further. Their investigation uncovered a family secret that might explain why Ruth disappeared, possibly even leading to her death. Ruth's friend Catherine Mayer shared that Ruth's life was built on secrets. Ruth, born to Ian and Nesta Wilson, lost her mother when she was just 3 years old. Ruth was told that her mother had died in an accident, but in reality, Nesta had hanged herself. Ruth found out this painful truth in 1995, after reviewing her mother's death certificate. The discovery devastated her and weighed heavily on her mind. In the weeks leading up to her disappearance, Ruth's behavior became erratic. By late November, she was struggling to cope with the revelation. On November 25th, Ruth spent the evening with her ex-boyfriend Will Kennedy and another friend. The next day she went to church, then visited Will again before heading home. Monday, November 27th, was the last day anyone saw her. Ruth's father, Ian, had been in a rush that morning and barely spoke to her. Ruth's stepmother, too, left early for work. Instead of taking the bus to school with her younger sister, Ruth told her she'd go later. Will offered her a ride, but she declined, taking a taxi instead to the local library. She then went to a florist, ordering flowers for her stepmother with a request to deliver them in 2 days without a card. Afterwards, she took another taxi to Box Hill and vanished into the evening. A search of the area was quickly launched. The police combed through 1,000 acres with dogs and helicopters, but they found nothing. 2 days after her disappearance, the flowers Ruth ordered arrived at her stepmother's door, raising concerns about Ruth's intentions. Around that same time, police discovered 3 notes hidden near Box Hill, one addressed to her parents and 2 to friends. Nearby, an empty bottle of vermouth and a pack of paracetamol were found, but no trace of Ruth herself. At first, the police didn't consider her case suspicious. According to the charity Missing People, only 1% of children remain missing for over a year. Yet Ruth's case did not fit the usual profiles of trafficking or abduction. Years later, McCauley and Bright sought more information from Surrey police, but the case remained classified as a missing persons inquiry. This level of secrecy baffled them, as the circumstances seemed too mysterious. McCauley wondered if Ruth had planned to meet someone or intended to take her own life. Box Hill, however, wasn't a practical spot to run away. She had no luggage or documents that would help her start a new life. There were also reports of sightings of Ruth, including one in Canada, though none were confirmed. Her father even wrote an open letter in 2006, pleading for her return and expressing the family's enduring pain and search efforts. Some of Ruth's friends, including Ben Anderton, suggested Ruth may have run away. He revealed that she had left home once before, just a month before her final disappearance, and had hinted at doing it again. Ben believed Ruth wasn't happy at home and had been planning to escape. As of today, Ruth would be 45 years old. Whether she is alive or met with tragedy that night remains a haunting mystery. Despite the efforts of the police, journalists, and her family, her disappearance leaves many unanswered questions. It was March 18, 2009, in York, England. Claudia Lawrence, a 35-year-old chef at the University of York, had just finished her shift at Goodricke College. Known for her friendly nature and commitment to her job, she maintained close contact with her parents, Peter and Joan Lawrence. That evening, Claudia spoke with them over the phone and sent a text to a friend at 8:23 p.m. After this, no one heard from her again. The next day, Claudia didn't show up for work, which was unlike her. Her co-workers grew concerned. 2 separate sightings of a woman matching her description were reported that morning. A cyclist saw her on Melrose Gate Bridge at 5:35 a.m. And about 30 minutes later, a commuter saw a couple arguing near the university. The man was described as thin, around 5 feet 6 inches tall, wearing a dark hoodie. Claudia's phone was turned off at 12:10 p.m. on March 19th, which raised suspicions. When Claudia missed a meeting with a friend at the Nag's Head pub on March 20th, her father contacted the North Yorkshire police. Claudia's father later described the situation as a living nightmare during a news conference in York on March 23rd. On April 24, 2009, police officially classified her disappearance as a suspected murder investigation, offering a £10,000 reward for any information leading to those responsible. Still, no trace of Claudia was found. In the years following her disappearance, the case took several turns. In 2010, Peter Lawrence called for an independent review of the police investigation, frustrated with their efforts. By 2013, the police revisited the case, conducting a fresh forensic search of Claudia's home. They found fingerprints of unknown individuals, which led to a series of arrests in 2014 and 2015. However, all suspects were released without charges. In 2017, the investigation was scaled back, a move that deeply disappointed Claudia's father, Peter. He passed away in 2021, never learning what happened to his daughter, adding another layer of tragedy to the case. Despite these challenges, Claudia's family and the police remained determined. In 2019, Claudia's Law, officially the Guardianship, Missing Persons Bill, came into effect. It allowed families to manage the financial affairs of missing loved ones, a victory for Peter Lawrence's efforts. As of 2024, Joan Lawrence, Claudia's mother, is discussing plans with the City of York Council to repurpose her daughter's home into a shelter for homeless families or domestic abuse victims. Though visiting Claudia's house is emotionally difficult, Joan feels a deep connection to the place. On the 15th anniversary of Claudia's disappearance, North Yorkshire Police issued another public appeal. Senior Investigating Officer Wayne Fox expressed his sympathy for Claudia's family, particularly her mother Joan, who has lived with the pain and uncertainty since March 18, 2009. He also acknowledged the anguish Peter Lawrence felt, having died without answers. Fox reiterated that the investigation remains open. The police continue to receive and examine new information, pursuing significant leads whenever they arise. A 2-week search at gravel pits in Sand Hutton in August 2021 was one such effort, though nothing substantial was uncovered. Nevertheless, the search highlighted the authorities' dedication to finding the truth. Despite many setbacks, hope persists. Former police officer and academic Ron Winch noted the difficulty of investigating cases like Claudia's, especially no-body homicides. Without forensic evidence or clear crime scenes, these cases are tough to crack. However, Winch added that there remains a small possibility Claudia could still be alive, though this becomes less likely with each passing year. Claudia's disappearance has not only challenged the police, but has also left a lasting impact on the community. Over time, numerous theories have emerged about what might have happened. Some believe she was taken by someone she knew, while others suggest she was a victim of random violence. The complexity of her relationships has drawn attention, with some speculating these may have played a role in her fate. However, her mother Joan strongly rejected these claims, accusing the media of victim blaming and damaging the investigation. Today, Claudia's disappearance remains one of the most puzzling and heartbreaking unsolved cases. Despite thorough investigations, multiple arrests, and repeated public appeals, no one has been charged, and Claudia's body has never been found. Joan Lawrence, along with the rest of Claudia's family, continues to search for answers, holding on to hope that the truth will someday come out. It was June 16, 1990, in Llangollen, Wales. Trevelyan Evans, a 52-year-old shop owner, left a note on her antique store's door stating, "Back in 2 minutes," but she never returned. Trevelyan was well known in her small town, having lived there her entire life. On the day she disappeared, she opened her shop, Attic Antiques, at 9:30 a.m. as usual. She had just returned from Rhuddlan, where she and her husband Richard were fixing up a bungalow for retirement. That morning she seemed in good spirits, chatting with friends and customers and even making plans for the evening. But at around 12:40 p.m., Trevelyan left her shop, leaving behind her handbag, car keys, and jacket, which was unusual for her. The last confirmed sighting of Trevelyan was around 2:30 p.m. near her home on Market Street. About 5 minutes later, a woman matching her description was seen walking out of town along the A5 toward Corwin. Another sighting occurred at 3:45 p.m. Richard was working at the bungalow in Rhuddlan that day. He returned to Llangollen in the afternoon, reportedly spotted at a pub just before the last sighting of his wife. When he realized Trevelyan was missing, he reported her disappearance around 11 p.m. The police launched an extensive investigation, interviewing locals and people in nearby areas, yet no significant leads emerged. Her bank accounts showed no suspicious activity, and no one had any idea where she could have gone. 2 years later, in 1992, there were unconfirmed sightings of Trevelyan in Australia, London, and France. Rumors swirled in Llangollen, with some suggesting she had left to start a new life due to an unhappy marriage. A family friend, Linda, who had been in a relationship with Trevelyan's brother, Philip, said she believed Trevelyan wasn't happy in her marriage and pointed some blame at Richard. She also claimed that Richard was not well liked and never expressed confusion or sadness over his wife's disappearance. Linda added that Philip had once mentioned seeing furniture being removed from the couple's house and raising questions. Why would Richard be removing items from the house if he expected Trevelyan to return? The case was reopened in 2001, and Richard was briefly arrested, but he was released without charge. He passed away in 2015. Over the years, other suspects emerged, including convicted serial killers Robin Ligas and Christopher Halliwell. In 2011, North Wales police linked Ligas, who had murdered 3 people, to Trevelyan's case, but he was ruled out a year later. Halliwell, a double murderer, was linked to the case in 2021. At the time of Trevelyan's disappearance, Halliwell was working as a window fitter in North Wales. Investigative reporter Tim Hicks suggested that Halliwell's troubled relationship with his mother might have driven him to attack an older woman like Trevelyan. A witness claimed to have seen a man resembling Halliwell in Llangollen on the day Trevelyan vanished. Despite these leads, Trevelyan's body has never been found. In 2019, police excavated part of the Rhuddlan Golf Club based on information provided by brothers Andrew and Lee Sutton. They claimed to have found new evidence suggesting her remains were under the floorboards, but the search revealed nothing, leading the brothers to believe the remains had been moved. In 2021, a mysterious message appeared on a plaque on a bench 30 miles from Llangollen, claiming Trevelyan's remains had been moved from the golf club. A similar message was found the following year on a bench near an abandoned cottage in Prestatyn, accusing those responsible for moving her body. Both messages referred to Rhuddlan Golf Club, but the Sutton brothers denied any involvement with the plaques. In 2023, actress Amelia Fox and criminologist David Wilson featured the case in a Channel 4 documentary. They interviewed a former carpet fitter who claimed to have seen a man acting suspiciously in Llangollen the day Trevelyan disappeared. The man, who resembled Halliwell, was spotted several times, including near Market Street and along the A5. To this day, no one knows what happened to Trevelyan Evans, and her disappearance remains one of Wales' greatest unsolved mysteries. It was March 2, 2010, in West Ella, East Yorkshire. 18-year-old Russell Bowling, a student studying bricklaying at Bishop Burton College, left home early that morning. He had a bright future ahead with plans to start his own business. His parents, Roger and Christine Bowling, were planning to gift him £300,000 to help him achieve independence. Russell was excited about this and the prospects it brought. However, he never got the chance to fulfill those dreams. Russell had a speech disorder which made him vulnerable, but he was happy with his studies and life. On the day he disappeared, Russell had visited a website about RAF Bempton, an old bunker near Bempton Cliffs, and another page about Ravenscar, where his family had a holiday home. He left his house at 8 a.m., and that was the last time his family saw him. By 11:30 a.m., his car was found parked at Bempton Cliffs, with a full day's parking ticket displayed. A large search followed involving the police, Coast Guard, and helicopters, but no sign of Russell was found. The car had very little fuel, suggesting he couldn't have made it to the cliffs without stopping to refuel. But police never collected CCTV footage to verify this. Russell's parents were heartbroken and couldn't believe he had disappeared voluntarily. His father, Roger, a retired civil servant, held a press conference pleading for information. He believed Russell had met someone he knew that morning and suspected that person was involved in his disappearance. Roger asked whoever was responsible to come forward and not let Russell down. Investigators learned that Russell's car had been to York, Bridlington, and Bradford before he went missing, but these leads didn't provide any clues. Police also ruled out the idea that he had taken his own life. They believed if he had fallen from the cliffs, his body would have been discovered by now. Years later, Russell's family still believed someone else was involved. The Bowlings believed Russell had a secret friend from Bishop Burton College. They suspected this person might have been with Russell on the day he disappeared, especially since Russell had gone missing for 5 hours the Saturday before, which was unusual for him. They also thought he might have visited the RAF Bempton bunker, a place that fascinated him on the day he disappeared. Russell's brother Andrew theorized that Russell had gone to the bunker and possibly suffered an asthma attack due to the asbestos inside, or experienced an accident there. Russell had saved several images related to the bunker on a USB stick, which was never recovered. Despite these theories, police didn't find any concrete evidence. Russell's debit card was unused, and he only had a small amount of cash, raising questions about how he refueled his car. The family believed someone else might have helped him, but this was never proven. Chief Superintendent Paul Davison, who led the investigation, admitted the case was complex. There was very little to go on aside from Russell's car, the parking ticket, and the fact that Russell seemed to have dressed more neatly than usual that morning. The case remained open, with the possibility of being upgraded to a major investigation team, but no new leads had emerged. The coroner concluded that Russell likely died in the sea at Bempton Cliffs the day he disappeared, though the exact circumstances were unclear. There was no evidence to show whether he fell from the cliffs, had an accident in the bunker, or met with foul play. The uncertainty of what had happened to Russell haunted his family. The Bowling family stopped celebrating holidays after Russell vanished. They continued to fight for a criminal investigation, feeling frustrated that the case wasn't handled as one from the start. Despite years passing, the family held out hope that someone with information would come forward and reveal what really happened. While the coroner concluded that Russell had passed away, the truth about his disappearance remains a mystery.